If you are a white podcaster on YouTube right now, and you think that your strategy for getting more members on your channel is to keep the vote blue no matter who movement going, in the landslide going, just because far left people have won in elections, think again. This is not for you. If you are a registered Democrat or Republican who is part of the 94% of our United States government that has been bought and sold to Israel through AIPAC donations, this video is not for you. This is for the cool. This is not for folks who think that they can convince black people that another election is going to deliver them from the white devil that Malcolm X told us about. This is not going to happen. Now, there are certain things happening in certain cities that dictate a certain outcome. And it is solely based on things like polls and people who show up and people who are interviewed and things like that. But that is not the true America. This is the Woke Socialist Podcast. Please like and subscribe to this video because I think you're going to find that it's well worth your while. Because not only do we not show videos here of 50 things you've seen 50 times before, but we try to guide you in the right direction to keep your family, friends, our military, and our government safe. So, shout out to, I got to give another shout out to Hassan Piker for his latest nonsense that the radical left and the radical right are trying to portray him as a certain thing that he is not. But I digress. So anyway, I would like to respond to Jolly Good Ginger. I might be canceled for saying this, but it has to be said. Yes, that is a joke. It is a joke. But it is not. The unfortunate circumstance of where we are today is that it is assumed that people are not already prepared for someone to raise the battle flag. Before Donald Trump got elected the first time, Michael Moore got on television and said he was going to be president. Then he said he was going to be president again. But I digress on that point. He said clearly Donald Trump is going to get us killed. He didn't say as a collective group. He didn't say that Iran or Russia or China was going to bomb us. He said Donald Trump is going to get us killed. Michael Moore, the same guy that did Bowling for Columbine and many other documentaries. Now, all of you who are right now grasping on the hope that an election is going to save you from this catastrophe are very misguided. When Michael Moore got on television and said that, people in the states of Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., which isn't a state, and some others, mostly down south, started organizing. So we don't need to do a clandestine operation to protect ourselves against Donald Trump. We started that years ago. And the reason that the woke socialists and the John Brown Alliance had the foresight to do so is because we were comprised of white people who wanted to help us, black people that understood and lived through the civil rights movement, and Native Americans who have a legacy of enduring white supremacy. Now, just yesterday, I saw a video of a Jewish KKK rally, not KKK like in Ku Klux Klan, but a Jewish supremacy rally where Chuck Schumer and the governor of New York attended. And several other people I'm not even going to mention because you need to find that clip for yourself and watch it. But at any rate, everybody that is talking right now about a revolution is about, I don't know, 10 years behind the rest of us. Because we already organized. We already identified the farmers and the fixers and the doctors and the lawyers and all these kinds of people that could benefit us as we benefit them through this process. This is how we survived the COVID epidemic, because we counted on each other. We were already organized. So we don't need to join 5051, and we don't need to join other organizations. We already did that. Okay, I'm 54 years old. I just fucking look stupid. But anyway, where I live, we already did that shit. So whenever you motherfuckers are ready to get down, we're ready for the get down. But at any rate, this is I'm just so, I don't believe we wasted all our time on these peaceful protests. And like I said, a guy named Paul Lance was talking about a national, not a national strike. Everybody keeps calling it a national strike. It's a general strike where all you had to do was go without for about a week. But fuck that. You know, people that look like me are beyond that, because right now we're targeted for assassination. People like Hassan Piker are being put on Front Street. Their addresses, they're being doxxed. They're being doxxed. And y'all are sitting here, you white motherfuckers, on white podcasts with white privilege, are talking about a fucking election. And even black people are talking about an election. Yeah, Cory Booker and, I don't know, AIPAC Shakur. And black people all over the Democratic spectrum are just signing on to AIPAC. But that's okay. That's okay. Because the Harlem Renaissance happened during the Great Depression. We got this. We always had this. Now you motherfuckers got yours to get. Now you're sitting up here bitching and moaning because some white guy wronged you. And we're seeing MAGA leave 10 Ways to Sunday. But on the same page, we're being told by our elected officials how to defend the United States Constitution. That is absolutely unacceptable. And I'm going to say it loud. I don't give two fucks about being canceled. Because I've been doing this shit since the 1990s. And as soon as I get canceled, I'm walking down the street passing out flyers. I don't need accounts. I don't need to raise money. What I need is to raise asses out of their seats. Now, to Jolly Ginger, I will say this. I am totally on board with what you're doing. I am totally on board with the Sons of Liberty. I am totally on board because we have survived barely what was called the election that would decide if our democracy existed. Our democracy, for people of color, stopped existing the minute that Ronald Reagan became president. Year by year by year, you could not deduct your credit card interest or your home interest from your federal taxes. For people like me, in the Deep South, and even in states like Maryland right now, because you don't know if they're going to flip, like Mikey Sherrill has, and Abigail Spanberger. You don't know who's going to fucking flip. So you need to assume the worst so that you can survive it. The Voting Rights Act. Removal of all things black in museums and every place in this country possible. Replaced by the photo of a traitor to America, tantamount and exceeding Adolf Hitler. He doesn't go out into the field. He uses useful idiots that love racism more than they love their children and feeding them. Then you have the Supreme Court, who has since Ronald Reagan been using house niggers like Clarence Thomas to do their dirty work. Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries. But they did not do it alone. They had fair weather friends, evil geniuses like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to groom and elevate the worst of the worst of black and Jewish America to the highest echelons of the United States government. They knew they were doing it. They latched on to people like Elijah Cummings, needed to keep the names of people like Martin Luther King out of their mouths, but then insulted my personal hero, John Lewis, by stating Nancy Pelosi did this. We have our marching orders, and then turning around and doing the very opposite as it applied to Donald Trump and white supremacy. This is absolutely segregationist behavior. This is just nothing more than Bull Connor masked as Mikey Sherrill. This is absolutely George Wallace in the face of Nancy Pelosi. This is how we see it. It doesn't matter how white America sees it, because we have been passed over war after war after war, and our bodies used for the benefit of this industrial complex and corporate machine. So some of us are done loving a country that doesn't love us back. We're done with that bullshit. Now, a revolution is not organized. It just happens. But some dipshit comes around and interrupts it. And for centuries now, black people who tell other black people to be peaceful are absolutely doing them a disservice. White people in other countries like Albania and Hungary now do not subscribe to this nonsense. Because when they want something gotten rid of, they get rid of it in short order. Now I'm going to say this. We need the same exact fervor, the same anger, and the same motivation that we had when Martin Luther King died. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything he said. And I don't agree with this, turning another cheek bullshit. I'm like, fight the power. But when you take away people's voting rights, their rights to their own bodies as females, when you take away their right to speak out, when you target them in the streets because they are black, and murder of them is okay, and then they get pardoned in 2026 after hundreds of years of lynchings and white people just getting off because the person who was killed was black, or 28 Native Americans at the order of Abraham Lincoln being hanged in the American West, which was the largest execution in American history. We owe Jewish America absolutely fucking zero. But we know where we stand. We know who you are. We know who you are not. Be you an elected official, Be you our next door neighbor. Be you someone running for office. Or a Supreme Court justice. This is how it's going to go down. Everyone is focused on different things because that's what they want you to be focused on. And you do need to be. Every podcaster out there needs to report on what they think is important. Because without you, we don't know that. So you need to keep that up. However, make no mistake, Newark, New Jersey is a testing ground for Washington, D.C. That is Trump's Gaza. Yes, it is. Now let me be clear. Every time a Jake Lang or the Proud Boys show up somewhere like Newark or Minneapolis or Los Angeles, have you noticed that it's always in a predominantly white neighborhood or some warehouse district or some place they know black people en masse are not going to show up? Let me be clear. Newark, New Jersey is another one of those situations. And they're just testing. And now they've employed the National Guard to do the job of ICE. This is how it has been for black people since 1619 and Native Americans since 1492. This is nothing fucking new. We can already tell you how this is going to play out and why some black people have stood down. Yeah, you get dumb motherfuckers who are black on there saying you need to vote blue no matter who, or you're just giving up your vote, or you're letting them win. No. Okay? We decide that. Because Democrats need us to win. That's number one. Okay, number two is we're sick and tired of fucking settling for second best. The best thing you can do right now is in your state, identify socialist individuals. You will find that they are not communists or Marxists. You will find that they are Zoroastrian. You will find that they are for the things that you want, the things that you need, and not just selling you wolf tickets, and not just selling you the drama, and not just getting elected to turn around and turn their backs on you and defend fascism. That's not what socialists do. And while you're at it, look up the term socialist and stop trusting the media, Democrats, and Republicans to decide for you what that means. Look it up in a fucking book. Don't Google it. Crack open a book. You'll be a lot better off. So here's what's going to happen. My birthday is June 5th. On June 14th, all this bullshit that Donald Trump has orchestrated is going to take place. And in Washington, D.C., the Proud Boys and all his little paid agitators are going to come down there and they're going to do the same thing they did until we ran them out in 1998. The newly revived Ku Klux Klan is going to claim Washington, D.C. for their own. That is the crown jewel. It's not Gaza. It's not Albania. It's Washington fucking D.C., Chocolate City. That's what's going to happen. That's what they want. And they want peaceful protesters willing to bow down and get fucking arrested, and that's going to be it. And you might get more than, I don't know, 8 million people to come to D.C. But you know what? You're not. Because motherfuckers are too weak. What you're going to get is what separates the men from the boys. They're going to get all pumped up. They're going to get all invigorated because Donald Trump has the octagon up there in front of the White House. And he's going to have his little birthday celebration with the UFC fight and the 250-year anniversary of all of your grandfathers, your fathers, and your great-grandfathers, and your great-great-grandfathers. Black, white, Japanese, and Native American are going to be defined by the United States of America taking the month of July and August to rally around white supremacy. Because you are too weak to do anything different. So some of you are going to sit on your couch and you're going to tune it out and ignore that it's happening. And you're going to drop out. Some of you are going to grill hot dogs and pretend none of this is happening. Some of you are going to watch it. And you're going to get on YouTube and you're going to doom scroll and get pissed off. And you're going to put out videos. But some of you are going to finally understand the gravity of the moment. Now let me tell you what else is going to happen. When these Nazis and white supremacists march down Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House on the very streets where we, in the 1990s, told them they could not spread their hate here, people like Jake Lang are going to come out there. It's going to turn out the worst of the worst. And somebody is going to say the word nigger. They're going to be so emboldened that it'll be a chant. Donald Trump will claim his territory. And you know what white people are going to do down there? That are 50-51. And all those people that are filming it. All those martyrs that are exercising their First Amendment rights. They're going to say nothing. When those people come to Washington, D.C., stay in hotels in Maryland and Virginia, they're going to feel free enough to use the word nigger on a daily basis. And not only that, that will be the theme of the day. And you know what's going to happen then? Everything you thought was American, you're going to find out is not. That is going to be the 1776 moment. These idiots are going to come to Washington, D.C., surrounded by people living in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, like a flank, insulting the very people that pay the highest taxes in this nation. And somebody like Jake Lang is going to get up on top of a U-Haul. And him and all his buddies and the Proud Boys are going to shout the word nigger. And you're going to see shit change big time. This will be the Emmett Till of 2026. This will be the George Floyd of 2026. This will be the Ahmaud Arbery of 2026. This will be the Emmett Till of 2026. All that nonsense and folks getting away with shit is going to come to a head. Because at that point, black folks will refuse to submit to yes massa bullshit like Cory Booker. Black people will not go back in that way. Now, my father was a police officer during the 1968 riots. And since Dr. Martin Luther King and several other black leaders, black people have been more than patient with white, and I will say now, Jewish America, putting themselves before us after we made sacrifices long before their motherfucking asses were here. But I digress. And I think it was a radio show host named Petey Green that told everybody, hey man, this ain't the way, you know, stand down. But that's not going to work here. Because the hurry up and wait is over with. The wait to a next election, you've had that fucking shit going on since after Reagan. We're going to do better for black people. And black people just keep losing and losing and losing and losing their constitutional rights. So we're done with that. The woke socialists are done with voting for AIPAC Democrats, and the woke socialist encompasses everybody that I speak to in my community. You'll never know what number that is because I don't want to endanger their lives. They get to go to the voting polls and vote, unlike the Deep South. But if you're still fooled thinking that these peaceful protests are going to work with all this gerrymandered bullshit and them coming in the states and taking the voting, you know, voting machines out or taking out ballots and stuff like that, you know what? I don't have time for you. I just do not have fucking time. There are people right now being maimed in the streets of New Jersey by their own Democratic governor right now. While Chuck Schumer goes to a Jewish supremacy rally. Let me tell you something. If you're an elected official who is an AIPAC member, a Republican, the Proud Boys, or the Oath Keepers, or whoever the fuck you think you are, do not bring your ass to Washington, D.C. this summer and expect a warm welcome. And I hope to fuck that you turn off on the wrong street and wind up in a black neighborhood. And that's where Jake Lang belongs, in a black neighborhood. And somebody's going to do it. And they're going to roll down the street with their microphone in some place in Southeast DC, and there is going to be nothing left. Keep this shit up, motherfuckers. This is how it's going down. This is the Woke Socialist Podcast. Heed the message. Don't get pissed off at the messenger. Have a better day than America deserves.